Hello and welcome to another video from Sustenance and Covering, the only YouTube channel you need to not only survive the current apocalypse but actually enjoy it. And today we're going to go on with our gun basics series and do part 4, gun maintenance. Now I said I was going to do this, but I never did because my camera went out. And in fact you'll notice that this is in low resolution because I still haven't worked all these issues out with my camera. But I also got reminded that I need to do this by somebody that's requested me to do a video about gun maintenance. So in any case, let's get started. I'm going to start off with a little story. I have always had a gun on me since I was 18 years old. And so that's 30 years. But I've never worn a gun. I've always kept it in my toolbox or in my guitar case or somewhere like that, glove compartment of the car. But I wanted to start carrying one, so I went out looking for a gun that would sit up smooth against my side and not weigh too much. This here Beretta PX4 Storm is plastic down here on the bottom, and it's metal on top here on the slide and the barrel, and it's relatively light. Of course, I keep 18 bullets in it, and that's heavy. That adds a lot of weight. But the story I want to tell you is that I wore this gun for about 30 days once without shooting it, and when I went to shoot it, it wouldn't move, wouldn't budge. Now it's about 90 degrees here. I always keep the windows and doors open. And I live in a marsh and I sweat a lot. And you already know where I'm going with this story. Well, I'm going to show you what happened. The end of my barrel here rusted to the inside of this slide. And it took a lot of work to get that apart. I had to put a wooden rod in there and hammer it out and sand everything and clean everything. And the gun still works perfect, lucky for me. But it made me think that it was probably time for me to get something a little more maintenance free. And so I decided I was going to get a revolver in stainless steel, because revolvers are basically no maintenance, I thought. And stainless steel never rusts, I thought. After about 30 days of wearing this on a holster and sweating all over it, I went to pull the trigger one day and nothing happened. Same thing. Had to get a piece of wood and a hammer and just pound all these parts apart and clean them and disassemble it. And it still to this day has little rust marks on it. And I guess I should have seen them before that happened. There's pitting. I don't know if you can see the pitting around the handle where it rusted. But in any case, if you do not like maintaining a gun, do not go out and buy a stainless steel gun so that you never have to clean or oil it, because that does not work. Stainless steel apparently is somewhat better, but it is not the solution. Now, getting on to cleaning the gun. Story time's over. First thing, make sure the gun is empty. On a revolver, all that means is look down the cylinder, because that's where all the bullets are going to be. Ain't going to be no bullets up in here anywhere. On one of these is a little bit different because your bullets are kept in a magazine. On a rifle it would be a clip or a magazine. But there's still a bullet up in here, so you got to pull this slide back and lock it to clean it. Or, I mean, when you clean it, you're obviously going to disassemble it. But when you go to even look at a gun at a gun store, this is the way they'll always hand you an automatic, because they want you to know that they're giving you an empty gun. But once the gun is for sure clean, empty, then you start cleaning it. Now, a good friend of mine just last year was cleaning an empty gun and shot himself in the hand. So that just goes to show you, you really and he's a gun expert. So you really have to be careful no matter who you are that your gun is empty before you clean it. That's part 1. Part 2 is actually how to clean the gun. The way you clean your gun is how the instructions say, because if you can tell, these guns are different, and there's still 1,000 other varieties of that, and I have not got time to show you every single part on every gun in the world to clean. But when you buy a gun, it comes with instructions, very clear. Just do what it says in the instructions. If you get a second-hand gun and you're not a gun person, you're watching me on the internets. The internet has instructions on everything. So you just go find your instructions on what are the good lubrication points, what are the parts you got to clean. Now, that's part 2 of this. Part 3 is chemicals. Cleaning chemical. This is carburetor cleaner. If you notice, it's not even a name brand. It's SuperTech. That's Walmart carburetor cleaner. Cost me $3. Of course, I'm sure it said $2.99 or $2.88, whatever Walmart puts on them. But it's $3 for a big old can. If you get a can of gun cleaner this big, it'd be $40 probably. And it's probably the same stuff, just with a little oil in it. The reason I'm telling you this is if you're a prepper, the only reason you're a prepper is because you realize the world is falling apart, and if you got a really good income and can buy anything you want, you don't realize the world is falling apart. So if you're watching this video, this is what you need. I didn't consult with a lawyer. If you tear your gun up using this stuff that I'm telling you to use, you just out of luck. But I can tell you this is all I've ever used, and it works. If you ever sprayed this on your carburetor, you can see it gets every single thing off. I mean, it's made for removing varnishes, carbon, and metal particles. If you're using wad cutters, lead bullets, they're going to leave lead in your rifling. If you're using a jacketed bullet, it may not do that, but the jacketing is harder, so it's going to wear your rifling down quicker. Kind of a 6 of one and half a dozen of the other theory of gun cleaning. Alright, for oiling. Oh, and this stuff will take that. You know, if you've ever used this on your carburetor and seen how stuff comes off, you're going to be scared of putting this on your gun. You know what? I'm going to show you. I done told you the bottom half of this is plastic and the top is metal. We just sprayed some of that. We'll let that sit. And you don't have to let it sit. It's instantaneous. If you're actually cleaning your gun, you just wipe it instantly. But do not, you see I've got a towel, do not get this on furniture. This will remove the color, the varnish, everything off of your furniture in about a second. As soon as it touches it, it's destroyed. Alright, next thing is how to oil your gun. Now you don't need to get a big old gallon like this. They sell it in quarts. I always buy in bulk just because I'm poor and I'm prepping for a future where this is not available. And this will last, it's a synthetic motor oil. It will last forever. This will last forever. And I can tell you that this cleaner lasts forever because I had a can for 20 years and it worked up until the day the bottom rusted out of the can and the contents spilled out. So these are two items that if you get that, you can actually support an army on a gallon of synthetic oil. If you do any research on the internet about cheap ways to get by without buying that expensive gun oil, they're going to tell you to get Mobil 1. And that is a cheap way compared to buying gun oil from a gun store. But this is Mobil 1 and it's cheaper. Synthetic SuperTech. Walmart is a Walmart's version of Mobil 1. And I'm sure Mobil 1 will be mad if they see this video. Now how do I get it out of that gallon into the gun? I use a little oil can. This one here is probably 1930s. Been around a while, but it still works. And in fact, I had to go buy that gallon of oil because I actually store my oil in this. If you've ever seen a video of me sitting on the porch giving some kind of lecture about something, and you've seen all them oil and gas cans lined up against the porch, that's there because I think that anything that's flammable needs to be stored outside, and that's where we put it. And I also think that it needs to be stored in such a way that people don't think of it as valuable. When you put a bunch of old, dented up, rusty oil cans and fill them with your gas for your car, gas for your lawnmower, oil for your chainsaw, oil for your car, people see that, they don't know what that is. They would, on first pass through, they're not going to steal that. In a shit hit the fan or end of the world as we know it or without rule of law situation, it ain't going to take long before people start just stealing all kinds of stuff. But you're going to get 2 or 3 waves before people start taking rusty cans off your front porch. So that's just something to keep in mind. Alright, in conclusion, let's see. My general theory on gun cleaning, which is based, oh, we got to show you this. Remember I sprayed this plastic, sprayed the metal. There you go. There's evidence. No bluing came off of the gun. None of the plastic melted. Everything still works fine. So there you go. That's a good active demonstration. But in conclusion, if you shoot one bullet through a semi-automatic gun, you need to clean your gun before you shoot the next one. Now, I'm not saying if you're out hunting, but if you shoot your gun and go home, and you ain't gonna shoot again the next day or the next day, you got to clean your gun. I've shot one bullet out of my rifle before, leaned it up against the wall, a month later went out to shoot it, and it would not cycle. Every bullet did a stovepipe or some kind of a jam, and I ended up having to come in the middle of my shooting frenzy and clean my gun before I could get back out there. These guns, the stuff that comes out of a bullet is highly corrosive, and you can get a bullet stuck in the chamber and end up having to go through all kind of torment to get it out of there. So if you use your gun, clean it. If you don't use your gun, you still have to clean it. A friend of mine just bought a gun that was obviously spick and span, but apparently who he bought it from hadn't used it in years, and when he went to shoot it, everything jammed. All I had to do was go through there and give it a quick clean up and a couple of drops of oil, and hasn't had a jam since. But gun maintenance is important. Cleanliness is next to gunliness, and you got to have oil on there for everything to move.